Welcome back to PBSN. I am Alan Judson.
And I am Jack Barnard.
And we are here in the Wolf Den in Riverton, Utah, as the Pleasant Grove Vikings take on the Riverton Silver Wolves. Both teams have double-digit wins. The Vikings with 2 losses this season, coming into this game 10-2, and Riverton coming into this game 11-1. Both teams have one more game before they face tough opponents in region play. Jack, tell us a little bit about this Pleasant Grove team and how they're feeling after their week off.
Well, I'm pretty sure that after that week off, they're gonna feel more comfortable because they had that tournament in Georgia, very kind of taxing on the body. You had to take that whole week off. You know, you had travel days, and then, of course, the final game day, even though they went 3-0, you still got the travel, all the stress of that. And then just a few days later, they had 4 games in 3 days. So they had to play 2 games in 1 day, and then back-to-back games after that. And so they went 3-0 before losing their final game against Murray, which I was not there for, but when I saw the score and I saw the stream, I was understanding why this loss was here. The loss was almost expected because no team is going to go undefeated forever. And you're going to, especially in basketball, and so you're just going to see that it's almost kind of like a back-to-earth moment, you know? Because now the season isn't about keeping the streak alive, it's trying to win region play.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that's a Pleasant Grove team who had a tough stretch of games in, just 3 days. And there's no discounting any team that they faced in that tournament. Hillcrest, a really good team. Brighton, an amazing team. Skyline, second best team in 5A, second only to state best Alta. Like state best, not even just in 5A, state best overall. And then Murray is a tough team to play, especially, as you mentioned, playing your 4th game in just under 48 hours. So nothing for Pleasant Grove to be too upset at with the results of that Holiday Hoop Fest tournament. But something that Pleasant Grove did focus on over the break was a little bit more discipline. There was a loss of discipline towards the end of that game versus Murray that, was not every reason that the Vikings lost that game. There was a lot building up to it, but was just kind of the punctuation mark on that game for Pleasant Grove and kind of took him out of the running in the final minutes of that one. So look for Pleasant Grove to be more disciplined in this one. And a little bit of a question mark here for the Vikings roster. Number 2, the trustworthy Carson Rasmussen, is questionable for today's matchup. He's dealing with a little bit of a hip injury, similar to the one he sustained in football. If he is not good to go, Zane Windsor will take his spot in the 10-man rotation. Tell us a little bit about Zane, Jack.
Yeah, Zane Windsor being the 11th man on this team. And of course, you have blue team and white team, and they're basically the two different starting 5s, 2 different teams of 5 that play interchangeably. And then you have that 11th man for when a player is a little bit too tired, in foul trouble, or something like that. And then, of course, that's going to be Zane, who has been playing phenomenal when he gets his varsity minutes. And, of course, after that, you have people like Chaz Rose, who really stepped up in the Georgia tournament. But if you guys are watching your screen right now, they're doing their same thing where they shoot their threes. So they got about 12 guys on the outside of the perimeter, and they're just shooting as many threes while the JV players rebound for them. And
yeah, Zane is inside the arc, so just off what I've seen initially here in warm-ups, it looks like Carson's going to be good to go.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't think that Carson is questionable. I think he's going to play today. Questionable on whether he'll start or not, I'm not sure, but probably. If he's gonna play, he's gonna play, and he's gonna put his whole heart onto the court. One other thing I was gonna mention is if you look to the bottom right of your screen, that corner, it's gonna be Ryan Hadley shooting her threes. And he has sustained a thumb injury throughout this season. Saw his shooting percentage go down a little bit in the Georgia trip, but it looks like that maybe a bit of a stroke is coming back with him hitting many of his threes that I've watched him throw up in the last couple of minutes. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how that goes down. Looking forward to seeing this Vikings team play, and so that they can get this final win of non-region and move on to Lone Peak this Friday at Valhalla.
Yeah, and I think really quickly, as you were talking about Hadley in the corner there, I think one of the struggles that he had with that thumb was figuring out how to maintain his form and his shot through the paint. Obviously, that's not something you're used to, and even just the smallest movement on a basketball shot can, move it too far left or right to miss it. And so I think it's just been a learning curve for him to figure out how to keep his form true and strong, even with the pain that he's feeling as it comes off his hand. As with just under 3 minutes to go here, I believe these teams are getting ready for introductions. Coach McAllister and his staff, Coach Scoville, Pond, Tucker, Groves, Wood, and a not entirely shaved, but what feels like mostly shaved Coach Youngle. Just very, very different from his long hair. We'll step aside as the national anthem is played. And with just under a minute to go, we wanted to welcome you to PGSN. Whether you are a Vikings fan who didn't want to brave the roads to drive up here to Riverton, whether you're a Vikings fan who tunes into us every single game, whether you're a Vikings fan who's out of state, or whether you are a fan of the Riverton Silverwolves on the other side, we thank you for joining us, and we are excited for today's game. The players are excited for today's game, and most importantly, we hope you are excited for today's game. It is the number 14 Vikings versus the number 11 Silverwolves. RPI-wise, you're looking at a Vikings team who's ranked 5th, and a Silverwolves team who is ranked 3rd in the 6A RPI. So these teams very fairly matched. We begin the starting lineup for the Pleasant Grove Vikings. Starting to guard number 3, Makai Peterson. His backcourt teammate number 20, Ty Palmer. Number 21, Andrew Anderson, also popping off the bench as a third man off. We also will see number 22, Milo Johansson, and rounding out the starting five, Vikings' biggest guy, by no means a 7-foot giant, but he's pretty good from beyond the arc. It's Clay Hansen rounding out the top five. And they will dim the lights for the Silver Wolves introductions. Starting at guard. We'll have a little bit of a hype video playing as all the players are watching. This is something that it's always fun to watch other teams and what they do to introduce their players, because every home atmosphere is hype video. This is a hype up Riverton team, a hype up student section, and a anticipated non-region game. Vikings face the Silver Wolves, starting at guard, 5'10" junior Evan Barrett. In the backcourt with him, their leading scorer, averaging 15 points per game, 6'5" senior Ben Barris, wearing number 5. You'll hear a lot about him tonight. The senior, 6'8" in Riverton, wearing number 12. The 6'4" senior Zach Edwards. The Silver Wolves huddle up at half court. Vikings starting five is ready. The clock is ready. The refs are ready as we wait for the Silver Wolves starting five to take the court. It's the Vikings. It's the Silver Wolves. Jack Barnard as the main man on the call. I'll hand it over to him.
Hopefully you guys can hear Alan through all that madness, because they had quite the introduction here, but sometimes those stadium speakers, you can't really hear really what anybody's saying. It just kind of sounds like mumbles to me, but I'm not sure. That's just me. Maybe everybody else can, but I'm also wearing headphones, so who knows. Clay Hansen's going to be on the tip here, and he's not even going to try. Kai Peterson immediately steals it, and he's going to go for the layup. No good. Clay Hansen's going to put it off.
Now a long heave here for the Silver Wolves.
A layup, no good from Ben Barris.
Yeah, Barris, like I mentioned earlier, if you guys could hear me, the leading scorer for this Silver Wolves team, averaging 15 points per game, couldn't get 2 to go there, but he's got the inbound.
Ben Barris. Seems like he, as far as I've seen, he's the highest points per game scorer and what you can usually assume is their best player on their team. But to be honest, when you look at the Vikings, I can't really tell who's the, quote, best player on the team. They're all quite amazing. I can't pinpoint just one. Here's Kai Peterson, gives it to Andrew on the outside of the arc. Kicks it out to Clay. He's going to drive in a little bit. Loses the ball, but no, not quite. And that's going to be Ty Palmer for 3, no good. And there, big man, Christian Henniger. He is going to grab many more of those rebounds here tonight.
Shockingly, as I was looking at stats, he's not their leading rebounder. Their leading rebounder is Zach Edwards, who just lost the ball almost to the backcourt there.
Here is Ben Barris to Evan Barris. And he's going to lose it out of bounds once again.
Only 10 seconds here on the shot clock. That was Ty Palmer who poked that one out of bounds. The Silver Wolves are going to retain possession, but are going to have to move fast.
Barris inbounds, and there's going to be an
It's a foul on Ty Palmer.
Off-ball foul.
So that's all that's going to do is reset the shot clock, and then obviously give Ty his first foul of the game.
So the NBA 2K Classic off-ball defense didn't work out here. Zach inbounds is thrown by Ty, and the layup is going to be good.
Ty Palmer just with the hustle to get to that one. The guy he was guarding thought Ty was going to give up on him and let his teammate get it. Ty said, no, can do. I want those 2 points.
Riverton again with the miss. Here's Clay Henson bringing the ball down the court. Going to give it to Ty Palmer. Out to Milo for 3.
That shot is called off. It was a blocking foul down low. I think Pleasant Grove almost not called to take the 3 points. But now we're going to see 5 new Vikings, and Carson does not start the game coming off the bench. Carson starts the game staying on the bench, sitting next to Coach Hart. He's got his arm around him. It's going to be Windsor in for Rasmussen.
Inbound to Hilliard, no good. Hilliard going to dribble it back out for 3. Has to be off the back of the rim. That's fine. Nothing's going to come from it. No foul, but it's going to be out of bounds offense. It's going to retain as Silver Wolves possession.
We talk about it again and again on these streams. That's hustle for Pleasant Grove, and Ethan Hilliard has been one of the biggest points of hustle for this Pleasant Grove team.
Jackson Brown almost pokes that pass away, intended for Zach Edwards. Back out,
That was a deep 3. He was wide open, pulled the trigger, and connected.
Ryan will kick it out for Jackson in the corner. First 3 of the night.
You hit a 3, we'll take a 3.
That's their mentality.
So Vikings up 7-3 as Coach Wilson has seen enough, and he's going to take a timeout to talk with his team. What have you seen? Obviously, this Riverton team has been extremely successful throughout the season. 11-1. Their only loss coming to Brighton in the first game of the season. They fell 70-44. What have you seen from the Silver Wolves team that you think has kind of led them to that 11-1 start? Obviously, it's early. We're only about 2 minutes in or so, but what have you seen?
I think they're already out rebounding us on the offensive boards a little bit. Obviously, our first points was an offensive putback from Clay Hansen, and surely our defense will cost them. I mean, we've stolen a pass from them already inbound, and we basically just stole the tip-off as well. So Riverton wins the tip-off. Ty Palmer immediately grabs the ball. So looking at that, that's impressive from the Vikings, but I think that Riverton is moving fast and they're moving smart.
That was a tough inbound pass to get it into Barris.
Barris out to Barrett. Barrett gets double teamed, kicks it back out for Barris. He's gonna step up to the 3-point line and he's gonna rim it out. Back out to Barrett.
This ever-moving Vikings defense is kind of giving the Silver Wolves some trouble.
Barris down low. Floater shot, one of the most difficult to perfect in basketball, and you see him do it there to a T, getting it right over Ethan Hilliard's arms.
As that's Hilliard who loses it, and I believe he's going to get whistled for the foul. So Ethan's Vikings second of the quarter, as they have a 2-point lead. The Silver Wolves, specifically Zach Edwards, is going to inbound.
And the scoreboard on your screen is incorrect. We have 7 points, not 6. Here is Barrett with the ball. Barrett on the Riverton logo, kicks it in, and that's going to be the easy layup for Christian Henniger.
That's something that Pleasant Grove's going to try and learn in this game, is how they're going to do their best to defend these tall guys as Hadley misses a layup. How they're going to do their best once they get into region play and they're facing the big guys. Next, like on Friday, they have to face Chamberlain Burgess, who's one of the best players in the state, and he is by no means small, and that's going to be one way that they can get to these big guys.
Chamberlain, just like you were saying, Chamberlain Burgess just got accepted on scholarship to play at Utah State next year. So very big player to play against, someone who is D1 talent for arguably the best college in Utah. So
yeah, D1 talent for a team that's ranked 20th in the nation. And Pleasant Grove's going to have to find a way to defend him on Friday. And right now, they're going to learn they're going to learn, some ways that they think may or may not work by defending Henninger, who's sitting on the bench now. Pleasant Grove's arguing that they should have possession because, as you mentioned, Riverton clearly won the tip, and then it was just grabbed by Mackay. Instead, it's going to be Vaughn Johnson in with his first appearance in this one, inbounding it.
Barrett with the ball for the Timberwolves, the Silver Wolves, getting double teamed, almost triple teamed by the Vikings. To be down low, no foul called, but a tough finish by Zach Edwards for 2. Mackay Peterson gonna drive in, kicks it out for Andrew for 3. He's gonna hit it.
And the Vikings may be only up by 1 right now, but in Coach McAllister's head, they're doing everything they want to right now. Hitting 3s when the other team hits 2s, forcing turnovers, forcing hard passes just like that one.
Had Andrew Anderson falling over for a second there, causing the entire Riverton crowd to freak out. Here is Clay Hansen with the ball. Kind of drives in a bit, kicks it back out for Andrew. Quick 3, good.
I don't know how he found Andrew Anderson and then hit Andrew Anderson on that pass that he just made. But what a great job by Andrew to just stand up, shoot the 3, and connect.
Down low. Here's Caden Allred. And that's to be stolen by the Vikings. Here's Clay Hansen to Ty Palmer into the corner of Mackay. Drives in, layup, no good, and they're gonna call a blocking foul on Vaughn Johnson.
Another, what would seem like a monster for this Pleasant Grove team. Anybody 6'6" or taller, it kind of feels that way for Pleasant Grove defensively. Johnson listed at 6'6", gets called for the block, and the Vikings, specifically Mackay Peterson, are gonna go to the line for 2.
Mackay Peterson standing at 6'4", though. I mean, he's one of the guys that's gonna give you the biggest challenge across the board, so. Yeah,
if you've been looking at the Vikings quote-unquote bruisers, the guys that are gonna defend the big guys down low, it's kind of Mackay Peterson, Riker Mickelson, and Clay Hansen. They are kind of tasked with that down low, as Peterson's second free throw won't connect, and the rebound's grabbed by Johnson.
So Hilliard's gonna have to wait to sub in for just a few more moments, and that's gonna be a 3.
That's a
by
tough
Caden
step-back
Allred.
3.
Step back, and that's gonna swirl in. Call it a 1980s bully the way it's swirling. I'm being serious here.
When you hit those step-back 3s, no matter how many times it hits the rim or backboard before it goes in, that's such a high boost of confidence if you're the player.
Ryan Hadley recovers the ball there. He's gonna spin move in the paint. Trying to find Windsor, trying to find anybody. Turnaround jumper. They're calling
a
3-second violation, even though that turnaround was reminiscent of Kobe Bryant in a way. That is exactly what he would do in the paint.
Now Hilliard does check in for Mackay Peterson. As you can see, the Riverton Silverwolves cheerleading and, is it cheer? Just cheer?
It's
squad?
Just a cheerleading team.
As it's, you know, it's probably distracting for this Pleasant Grove team. You'll see what they do when
Caden
Pleasant
Allred's
Grove is
pass. They say it's deflected by Jackson Brown, and it's going to stay Silverwolves' ball.
And Coach McAllister quickly talking to the ref on that one. Jackson Brown was stunned that he got whistled for that one.
Henninger down low, gonna reminiscent hook shot there in the paint. Not in the restricted area because it doesn't exist in high school. However, basically where that is. Riker Mickelson with the layup there.
Yeah, Mickelson's one of the guys. He's actually Pleasant Grove's leading scorer, and he's done such a great job of getting down low as that one's lofted over the head of Henninger. Mickelson's kind of, you know, he racks up his points every game pretty consistently, sitting in between about 8 and 14 points every game because he has the ability to get down low and hit those layups.
You know, something I want to say is that is the second missed pass in a row, and probably the 4th missed pass in the game to Henninger down low. They just launch it up. Hilliard, no good, sorry. Hilliard thought about it again. Riker also thought about it, gonna drive in. Left-hand layup is blocked. Hilliard recovers. Back to Riker, and they're gonna call
an off-ball foul. It's going to be on the defense. Or I think it might have something to do with the clock. That's what the refs are talking to the scores table right now.
But as I was saying, so they're throwing like coast-to-coast passes all the way across the court to Henninger, and they're kind of missing. they're missing him. It's like flying out of bounds by easily 6 feet away from his hands. So that's kind of a critical mistake I've seen from Riverton early on in this first quarter. I mean, their first quarter is almost over, but there's still many more minutes to play.
Yeah. And Pleasant Grove and Ryan Hadley will check in. Ben Barris is going to come in, and out comes Evan Barrett taking his first seat of the game. Something that will be highly coveted for these Riverton players is Zach Edwards is going to try and check in, and they're going to let him. That's something that's going to be highly coveted for these Riverton players because Pleasant Grove moves so fast. Anytime that you get a chance to take a deep breath on the bench, they'll love.
Yeah. Here is Hadley controlling the ball for the Vikings. Gives it to Hilliard, now to Riker. Nice ball movement by Pleasant Grove. Hilliard back out to Zane for 3. He's gonna toilet that in. Very nice.
Zane Windsor.
Second ball to spiral into the basket this game. Another answer 3 from Riverton, no good. Tipped around 5 times by Pleasant Grove, and they're gonna come back down the court. Gives it to Ryan down low. Open lane, oh my goodness. What a jelly layup by Ryan Hadley.
Giving the Vikings a 2-possession lead. And as we've seen from so many players who hit big shots or make big plays on the offensive end, he's right back sprinting down the floor on defense. There's an off-balance shot by Barris that won't go. Rebound, Jackson Brown.
Jackson Brown almost gets it tipped away. He's going to bring it down the court, gives it to Ryan Hadley. Going to give it to Zane, a second 3, no good. Hilliard gets it back. Jackson for 3, no good. Here comes Barris, bring it down the court. And one off the foul from Hilliard. Hilliard expresses his frustration, but doesn't hit the ball.
Because I believe 2 fouls on Ethan Hilliard now. Vikings 3rd of the quarter with only 21 ticks to go. You think they'll probably get out of this one without heading to a double bonus. The Silver Wolves coming off a victory against East, 60-44, I believe on Friday night. So they kind of started their Friday, Tuesday
East
lineup early.
Like the one in Salt Lake?
Yes.
Any of you guys are High School Musical fans. Isn't that the one that they play for?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, because they reverse West, and they hate West, right? Very cool. So that's kind of actually funny that they played East High School. Clay Hansen with the ball, controlling it. 5 seconds remaining in the quarter. Makai Peterson is going to be fouled by Zach Edwards.
Only the 3rd of the quarter on the Silver Wolves, so both teams doing a good job staying out of foul trouble so far in this first quarter. For the Vikings, it's Hilliard with 2, and that's the only Viking with more than 1. And for the Silver Wolves, Vaughn Johnson just picked up his second. So with 3 seconds to go.
3 seconds to go.
Gets blocked by Barris to end the quarter. After one, Vikings with a small 1-point lead. Vikings 21, Silver Wolves 20. Chubbies. Click the wrong button there. So you guys just heard me yell Chubbies, but that's a perfect segue, even though it might be a little embarrassing, to our title sponsor, Chubbies Neighborhood Cafe, located in Pleasant Grove off of State Street. Easy to find, easy to love. Chubbies Neighborhood Cafe has anything that you might want. Burgers, tenders, wings, shakes.
Fish and
Dr.
chips.
Pepper.
I love Dr. Pepper.
So go visit Chubby's Neighborhood Cafe, give them a visit. Take your phone, watch the game, have a good meal while you watch a good basketball game, because really every Vikings game from here on out is a good basketball game. We've mentioned on Friday, in just a couple days, they kick off region play against Lone Peak, and then a week from today, they play the toughest game that they will play every season, traveling to the Cave to face the American Fork Cavemen, a team that is ranked a little lower than you'd originally think in the RPI rankings, but that's due to their about 500 record, but they have the highest opponents record and the highest opponents record. So American Fork has by far played the toughest teams. That Caveman team also fell to the Miners, just like the Vikings did. I just think American Fork lost by about 8 and Pleasant Grove lost by 20.
I'm excited to see what happens between Riverton and Bingham this year, because depending on how this game goes, if it's a well-fought battle, then Andrew Anderson for 3, it's going to be off the mark. I want to see, just like between Riverton and Bingham, what that game is going to be like.
as Edwards gets it to Barrett. Barrett working on Mackay up at the top of the key. Drops it down low, little teardrop pass to Zach Edwards. Now Edwards trapped, kicks it to the corner. Man, can't find his man. Vaughn Johnson goes off his hands, and it's gonna be Viking basketball, and their bench is hyped.
Bounces almost into a freshly trimmed young bull hand.
I don't know if you guys have noticed him. He looks like a whole new man.
Yeah, young bull has cut his hair, and he does look like a whole new man. And it's crazy.
I asked him today, walking into physics, I said, why'd you do it? He just said, I needed to change. Andrew's trying to change the score, and instead he airballs it, and it gets poked out of bounds by Clay Hansen, and it's going to be Riverton basketball.
I think they just called it Pleasant Grove basketball.
I thought they pointed Riverton way, but no, you're right. It is going to be Pleasant Grove basketball.
They pointed towards PG's side, but it did look like Clay poked it out, but I'm not sure. Ty Palmer going to inbound to Clay, speaking of. Mackay Peterson controls the ball, gives it to Milo, quick three, no good. Ty Palmer out-rebounds Riverton. That's be Clay for three, off the side of the rim and no good.
Clay Hansen shoots really well from beyond the arc, but even the best ones miss.
Let's be down low, Zach Edwards.
As for Riverton, Evan Barrett has shaken a couple Vikings out of their shoes and then just made a mistake right after to kind of, you know, whenever you're playing pickup basketball and someone breaks their ankles, just look at them and say, it doesn't matter if you miss.
It's true.
As Barrett's going to remember the broken ankles, but probably not that pass as Palmer gets it to Peterson.
Mackay on the free throw line. He gets it tipped by Zach. Zach Edwards back to Mackay. He recovers it to Ty. Now to Zach. And they're going to call a foul on Ty Palmer.
Yeah, they're going to say he used that offhand that he was not using to try and get the ball to make some contact with the Silver Wolf that was also vying for it. And that's what got him whistled for his second, the Vikings' first of the quarter.
As Carson Rasmussen, which you were correct, hasn't played any minutes tonight. After I very much thought that he was going to. Down low, Jackson Brown almost blocks Vaughn Johnson.
Vikings quickly back on offense.
Hadley, my goodness, with the moves down low. They're going to call it Riverton's ball.
Now the Vikings playing a rather aggressive full-court press.
Vaughn Johnson inbounds it. Here's Ben Barris back to Vaughn. Vaughn to Adams, or not Adams, Zach Edwards. Here's Evan Barrett. Evan Barrett drives in to Vaughn. Out for Barris for three, hits good.
Yeah, Ben Barris is one of a couple guys on this Riverton roster that you cannot leave open or he's going to make you pay. He just demonstrated that in that possession.
Hilliard down low, going to do some dribble work, and that's going to be Riker Mickelson catching a rebound. He's going to get fouled from behind as he goes up for the layup. Yeah,
Riker Mickelson doesn't care if that Riverton sideline starts to clap for, you know, the blocked shot. He's going to still try and go up and grab that offensive board. Good effort by him to send him to the line and try to cut the lead to 2.
And that's just something that Riker Mickelson does. He just does the dirty work down low as the cheerleaders try to distract him as much as they can, and they might have succeeded.
Yeah, this is one of the louder places we've heard in the light of free throws. Also, when the Vikings played Brighton last week, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, it was a rather aggressive, as there's a lane violation on Pleasant Grove. I think they're going to call that one off.
Dang. That's not something you see very often, but you know, when it does, it's kind of a disappointing mental mistake that you can make on the court.
As there's another pass, like you mentioned.
It's happened again. It's like their kryptonite as Sheldon Sweet's gonna go grab that ball for Riker.
I think that Riverton squad sees their big guy, Henninger.
There's Sheldon.
They see their big guy, Henninger, streaking down the court, but seems like he's wide open, but even though it may look easy, those over-the-shoulder drop passes right into the breadbasket are nothing close to as simple as some guys like Carson Rasmussen make them look.
Here's Riker Mickelson's going to drive in, do the dirty work, and he's going to lay it up with the left hand. Very skilled, especially being able to finish with both arms. That's a talent that is underused, I feel like.
If I'm picking anyone on this Pleasant Grove roster, Ethan Hilliard
pins it against the backboard, and he's going to come back down the court.
If I'm picking anyone on this Pleasant Grove
goes
roster,
right, kicks it out to Jackson Brown for three. It's good!
And that gives the Vikings a 1-point lead. Just those 3 possessions are the definition of Vikings basketball. We'll get a bruising layup down low, go force a turnover on the other end, hit a 3, and now we've got the lead. There's
Brown
another one.
Gets a clean steal. Riverton coach is not happy. Ryan down low. He argues that he's fouled. They're going to call it out of bounds on Riverton.
Well, they're going to give the ball to Riverton. It was out of bounds on Pleasant Grove.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
That's an extremely upset Coach Wilson, who, as I mentioned, again, you might not have heard me, but he's only the 2nd head coach in Riverton history. He replaced the man who coached him, I believe, 12 seasons ago, or maybe 16 seasons ago, I believe, in 2008.
How long has Riverton High School been in a sanctioned place?
I have no clue, but they've had 2 very, very long tenured coaches.
Sort of like Pleasant Grove here with Coach McAllister, who's been the coach for a very long time. To Clay Hansen straight up for 3 off the back of the rim and no good. Henninger with the rebound there. Barrett trapped in the corner.
And a timeout is called.
Calling timeout, good.
Milo Johansson thought he just had a foul called on him, and that's maybe the widest mouth of shock and awe that I've seen in a while. But to his relief, it was just the second timeout of the half.
The reason why he would be so shocked is if you saw that he had both his arms up to show that he had no business in fouling him. There was no contact except for body to body, which isn't an illegal move unless you run right into them, and then then that's a foul. But being next to them with your arms up is not an illegal move. Once again, you're watching Pleasant Grove Sports Network.
As we talked about in the last couple of games for Pleasant Grove, they're playing teams that play close games. This Riverton team beat Westlake by a point, Cypress by 2 points, West Jordan by 2 possessions, a 6-point victory, and then another big 1-point game beating Crimson Cliffs early in the season, as well as their second game out. They defeated a Fremont team on the road by 3 points. So a lot of 1-possession games for this Silver Wolves team. The Vikings as well playing a lot of 1-possession games. Primarily the big win that we've seen, beating Davis by 3 points. That's kind of been the stamp on this Pleasant Grove team, saying we can beat good teams. Beating Riverton tonight would add another one on that list, and vice versa for Riverton. Beating Pleasant Grove is another team you can put on your list and say, hey, we beat PG, we're a threat come February, early March.
That win against Davis was because of a Clay Hansen 3-pointer late in the game. And that's something we've yet to see. And that's going to be Henninger, who's fouled down low, going to go to the line.
These 2 teams faced off not quite a year ago to the day. A year ago tomorrow was their last matchup played in Pleasant Grove. The Vikings eked out a 2-point 54-52 victory thanks to an Austin Simon go-ahead 3-pointer with just under 1 minute to go. And we keep bringing it up, but the Vikings are going to see Austin Simon again on Friday against Lone Peak, one of the biggest games of their season. Obviously, it feels like every region game is one of the biggest of their season as Henninger goes 1 for 2 from the line. It feels like every single region game is the biggest of their season, but take it one at a time.
Sub out here for Zach Edwards, and here comes Pleasant Grove. I'm looking for our first Clay Hansen 3-pointer. We haven't not seen one hit by him tonight yet. Here is Makai Peterson out to Milo. Milo gonna drive in, back out to Hadley. Hadley to Clay for 3. No good. Clay almost gets the ball, but shoves their player into the stands.
And 1. That's kind of an issue that Pleasant Grove has kind of seen throughout this season. Those 2-on-1 fast breaks, which are nearly impossible to defend. The last thing you want to do, though, is allow a bucket and the foul. Pleasant Grove's had a couple of those today, and it gives Vaughn Johnson the chance to push it to a 5-point game,
And
which he does.
Here's Ryan Hadley with the ball, gives it to Milo, back to Ryan, to Andrew. Milo for three, it's good.
And that's a play that Pleasant Grove has in their back pocket that usually leaves not completely wide open, but a player with a good chance to shoot a three, and that time Johansson capitalized. Here's Barris down in the key. He's gonna float it out to Edwards. Edwards working on Johansson, kicks it out to the corner. Johnson thought about a three, doesn't take it. Instead drives in baseline, kicks it out to the corner. It's Allred who connects.
Wild three from Caden Allred. That's the second time we've seen him hit from that spot. Milo Johansson after the rotation off of play. Ryan Hadley kind of resets the play for the Vikings. Here's Makai Peterson. Gonna drive in, spin move in the paint. Down low, layup, good.
What a move and a tough finish, left-handed off the glass.
Pleasant Grove scored a 31. To the double team on Barrett. They get it out. Barrett's gonna drive in. Spin move. Caden Allred inwards to Zach. Outward for Barris, no good.
Hanson grabs a good rebound. We've kind of seen Pleasant Grove's rotations not necessarily sloppy, but some mistakes have been made today as Hanson's going to go to the line for two. And Hanson is down on the ground, holding his head for the second time today. He got a little shaken up earlier in the game when he took a foul, and that time was not a light fall. Hanson, the Lone Peak transfer, playing his first season of Viking hoops this year, has been a big contributor for Pleasant Grove and one of the most exciting and most outward guys on the team. I'd say one of our PGSM best friends as he goes to the line for two here. Makes the first to make it a 2-point ball game, and the Vikings are going to sub.
That's the third foul on Vaughn Johnson.
Jackson Brown is going to have to wait to see what Hanson does from the line here to see whether or not he'll be allowed to come in. Windsor is now sitting next to Rasmussen on the bench. This would be Windsor's rotation. Interested to see. I believe the Vikings staying in is Andrew Anderson.
Here is Clay Hanson's second is good. And he's going to sub out for Jackson Brown. Jackson Brown's already hit a couple threes. He's doing good this game.
Hanson heads to the table or the locker room immediately. Didn't even think about taking a seat on the bench. We'll see if he returns. A wild pass
into Henninger, and that's going to be a
Riker Mickelson rebound.
Yeah, Barrett missed off a Riker Mickelson rebound. Jackson Brown with the ball. Hesitates, dribbles, foul from behind.
And this is a rather upset Silver Wolf squad. And I think this is a great chance for Pleasant Grove to kind of know what they're going to face when they're on the road against Lone Peak, against American Fork. This is a riled up Riverton fan base, and that's something that is very prominent in Utah high school sports. Anderson straightaway three.
You know, with Clay Hanson going straight to the locker room, you wonder if there's blood, but well, he's back now, but sitting on the bench right next to Milo Johansson, but I wonder what he went to the locker room for. Maybe just to grab a water bottle. You never know.
There's a turnover forced by this Vikings defense.
Of course, the classic NBA story is when Paul Pierce went to the locker room during the NBA Finals, and then he returned and later confirmed that he just had to use the bathroom. He faked an injury. It was quite amusing. Here's Ty Palmer, looks for the play. After the turnaround, Barrett almost gets the ball from him. Riker Mickelson stumbles almost because of a wet floor, it looks like.
Henninger has kind of just been, he's just a really big body down low. It's hard for Mickelson to find his way to slither past him. Defensively, Henninger did a good job of forcing a little bit of an awkward shot by Riker that possession.
Barris with the ball, mid-range jumper, no good. You know, mid-range jumper is one of the least efficient shots in basketball.
Yeah, for Pleasant Grove, if you take a mid-range jumper and there's not less than 3 seconds on the shot clock, you're going to get in a little bit of trouble when you go down and sit on that bench. Pleasant Grove refuses to take any shot except for three-pointers and layups.
That pass to Ethan is intercepted with 15 seconds to go. Barris is fouled by Hilliard behind.
So the Silverwolves up 1 with 13.8 remaining here in this first half. Riverton looking to push that lead as
that's Hilliard's
guy
third.
not on our roster is going to inbound for Riverton.
Max Preps, what a wonderful place. Here is Barrett with the ball. Mid-range floater, it's good.
That's a crazy shot. Palmer's three won't go.
My goodness, I almost thought for a second, but my depth perception is clearly horrible because that was not a shot that you would see often. You know, think about it now. Clay Henson didn't go to the locker room at all because he would have gone to the opposing locker room, but I think he was just going around to grab something. And then we just kind of looked away before he came back. Yeah,
there may be a trainer's table. It's behind our line of view. So there may be a trainer's table down there or something that he was heading to kind of get fit with what he needs. But at halftime, it's the Vikings down 3 points, looking to kind of repeat what they've done in not necessarily comeback fashion. It's only a one-possession ball game, but for Pleasant Grove, down at the half, looking to come here in the second half and kind of put up a performance that kind of leaves an exclamation mark on this one.
There you go. You can see our faces here as we commentate in the Riverton Silverwolves Wolf Den.
We're sorry if we're shaking a little bit. The camera's on Kimball Ray's head.
Kimball Ray is bouncing on his head. Anyways, things I would like to bring up at this halftime show is something that I've seen is Christian Henninger is the passes to him. The passes to him specifically from players such as like, Zach Edwards. I keep thinking of a fellow schoolmate. His name is Zach Adams. I literally cannot think of any other Zach in my whole life, but Zach Edwards. Specifically, I've seen about 3 passes from him that are about half quarter longer to the paint, and they've been extremely off every time. Like, easily either 3 to 8 feet away from Henninger's hands. It's just not the pass you're looking for, and it's led to multiple turnovers for Riverton.
Yeah, and I think, as you mentioned, Henninger, he's kind of been just a big body down low, kind of an unstoppable force for this Pleasant Grove team, as they haven't found a way or a guy who matches up for him height-wise. But Pleasant Grove's done a good job of forcing him to take tough shots. And the one thing for Henninger that Pleasant Grove's trying to do is get him to bring the ball down. At being 6'11", he wants to keep the ball up above his head, and probably for a good reason. It's hard to get up there without fouling. Pleasant Grove wants him to bring it down, and they're going to have a couple guys in the paint swatting the ball and poking it out. Henninger is a guy who probably needs to heat up a little bit in the second half and become a huge force for this Riverton team. The issue for Coach Wilson and the Silverwolves squad is he's looking a little gassed already, and it's halftime, and that's what this Pleasant Grove offense is trying to do.
Yeah, and as Kimball Ray is making me a little bit amused by how he can't hold up the camera anymore, but something I would like to see.
Hit the gym, buddy.
Something I would like to see improved from the Vikings in the second half is their three-point efficiency. I'd like to see them shooting a couple more, not submitting to, contested layups or trying to bounce pass it through multiple guys. I've also seen a couple skip passes that have been intercepted by Riverton as well. And that's just kind of a play that you don't want to run very often. A skip pass can be nice, but the way Pleasant Grove plays, they don't really utilize skip passes and picks off of skip passes as much. So that's not really something you see. So I don't know why they would do it and get it taken away from them. So
yeah, I think for Pleasant Grove, they've made a couple tough layups that, you probably can't repeat 9 times out of 10. but they've also had a couple easy layups throughout the season that they've kind of missed. Coach calls them smokies. So I think Pleasant Grove's kind of in a middle ground right now of, they probably made the same number of layups if they did it again, but maybe not the same ones they made. So Pleasant Grove, like you mentioned, maybe in the second half, look to drive in. Riker pump fake goes up and then kicks it out to the corner. And that's always the goal, but maybe finding new ways for the off ball to get them open and give Riker an easy player to kind of dish it to. But Pleasant Grove down 3 here at halftime. Let's move over, and we talked a little bit about Henninger, but defensively for the Silver Wolves, what do you think has led to their success in the first half?
I think that they're playing the ball well. They're able to steal our passes when we play sloppy, and they just, like, I'm sorry to bring up Henninger again, but they also have Vaughn Johnson, and they just stick them right in the paint, and Pleasant Grove can't do much when they're there because most of our players are either 6 foot or shorter, and that's a huge difference between them and us. So I think that's something we need to improve on is move the ball around faster, smarter, and opt for the open 3 almost every single time. I think that the layups we've been deciding to go for haven't been the move, so that's just me though.
I think one thing that Coach McAllister must have talked to his team about is you have Henninger, who, he's 6'11", but kind of what we saw from a couple Pleasant Grove players last year, they don't have the speed and the quickness that these 6'2", 6'4" guys do have. So I think what Pleasant Grove has kind of tried to do, and what I've noticed there in the first half, is bring Henninger and bring Johnson out of the paint, have them come up to you on the three-point line, do a little jab step, and then go the other way and try and blow by him, get that quick first step. If you can't make the bucket, honestly, the worst outcome that Pleasant Grove has seen so far is drawing a foul.
Yeah, so that's kind of all my thoughts on the matter here, and just hoping that Pleasant Grove can go in and get rid of this 3-point deficit and hopefully catch a win before we start region play.
Yeah, with just under 4 minutes left to go here in halftime, we're going to head to a quick break. We will be back in just 1 second. Hopefully.
Yeah, okay.
Wrap that up and give it to
The player of the game last time out for the Vikings against the Murray Spartans in a game that they fell 65-72. The player of the game for Pleasant Grove was Mackay Peterson. Mackay played a great game offensively and defensively, and kind of was the Vikings' spark in the second half that kept the game within 1 or 2 scores. Ultimately, the Vikings couldn't finish it out, but Mackay Peterson had an exceptional game, as he's been a little quieter today on the offensive end, but playing his tenacious role defensively to almost a perfection. As Vikings looking to overcome a 3-point deficit in the second half. Christian Haniger wearing number 50, the 6'11" senior center, has kind of been one of the focal points for this Riverton team, as well as Caden Allred has hit a couple tough threes on the offensive end and given the Silver Wolves a spark offensively that they needed, as well as Evan Barrett's done a good job offensively, forcing some crowd interaction and making some great ball handles and forcing some Viking players to kind of look a little foolish defensively. Unfortunately for Barrett, the majority of those possessions have kind of resulted in mistakes, honestly, turnovers and mistakes for this Riverton team, but Barrett's going to look to do some of the same thing in the second half. As just under 10 ticks to go before the Vikings and the Silver Wolves take the court once again. I think Coach McAllister has the Silver Wolves right where he wants them. I think looking a little tired towards the end of that second half. It's only going to get worse here in the second half, excuse me, end of the first half. But the Vikings are going to start defensively down 3, looking to keep it that way as Barrett gets the inbound.
Here comes the Silver Wolves. Here is Zach Edwards to Barrett. Back to Zach. In the paint, he's going to lose the ball. Recovered for Barris, and that's going to be a missed floater. Now they're trapped in the corner. They still have the ball in their possession. Henninger down low. Little hook shot, that's good. That's an almost unstoppable move. That is quite difficult to even try to stop when you're a 6'11". Clay Hansen for 3, right in his eye, no good. That's be 0 for 4 from the 3-point line for Clay Hansen this game.
Something that Pleasant Grove's kind of failed to do on those Clay Hansen shots is get those offensive rebounds that they've kind of helped a couple of their teammates out with. And that's obviously, there's not really anything you can do about the way that Hansen bounces that ball off the rim, but just some unlucky bounces for Hansen as he's controlling the ball with the court now. Finds a cutting Hansen as Milo
layup,
Johansson.
no good. And that's going to be another miss off Hansen. I actually think he's missed 5 three-pointers this game.
But as we talked about hustle, Clay Hansen got off the ground and back into a defensive position before Zach Edwards for the Silver Wolves made it from free throw line to free throw line. As there's a 3-pointer by Caden Allred that gives the Silver Wolves an 8-point advantage. Mackay Peterson working on Allred, gets it to Palmer. Palmer drives left hand, gonna lay it up, no good. Can't grab his own rebound, and now the Silver Wolves back on offense. It's the Evan Barrett who gets it to Barris. Barris is gonna drive right hand, working on Johansson, try and put it up, no good, foul's ball. And that is a foul that Coach Wilson is very excited and happy about, as Pleasant Grove gives up a quick run to the Silver Wolves to open up this game. Open up the second half.
We're sorry that the scoreboard is missing on the broadcast right now. But it is 41-33. Pleasant Grove is down.
Now it's 42-33 as Barris makes his first.
Yes. Second team of 5 going to sub in for the Vikings.
This time it's going to be Ty Palmer that stays on the court. So only a 4-man sub for Pleasant Grove once again. Barris misses the second off the front of the rim. Jackson Brown grabs the rebound, and it stays a single-point deficit.
Here is Ty Palmer down low, kicks it out to Windsor for three. It's good. Windsor brings the score for the Vikings up to 36.
His second made three of this one, and there's a mistake from Allred, just a pass that kind of was trying to skip between Barris's legs. Barris did his best to stop it, but just a little too much heat on it and goes out of bounds, and now Palmer and the Vikings take over.
Here is Ty Palmer with the ball. Ty Palmer to Jackson Brown, to Riker Mickelson. He's going to drive in inside the paint. Riker going to give it to Hadley. Hadley going to reset the play. Gives it to Ty. Ty kind of loses the ball a little bit down to Riker in the paint. Gets around Henninger, and he's going to score it.
And that's what we're talking about, Mickelson and his pump fakes. That time his pump fake didn't lead to a pass. Instead, it led to him having a little easier shot. One dribble, moving to the other side of the basket, putting it up as the Vikings poke that one out of bounds, but goes off their own hands, and the Silver Wolves retain possession with 5 seconds to cross the timeline.
Here is Vaughn to Barrett. Barrett over to Barris. Barris with the ball. Trying to drive off Ty Palmer. Picks up his dribble. Going to give it to Barrett.
10 on the shot clock now.
Barrett way into the corner. That's going to be a quick three and good.
Caden Allred has been on fire from beyond the arc today. That's his 4th made three, giving Riverton 12 very necessary points.
Zane Windsor with the ball. Gives it to Jackson Brown on the outside of the three-point line. Back to Zane. Zane in the corner. Riker fakes the three. Drives in. Layup. Good.
And that's maybe a shot that you'd want Mickelson to take open in the corner. He did a good job of working on Henninger, forcing him to get a little off balance in the paint, and then got to the basket. But if you're looking for 3 points every possession, and those are some of the easiest shots that Mickelson's going to see this season.
In the corner, this is Vaughn. Vaughn with the ball, way coast-to-coast pass. Here's Barrett, drives in, back to Vaughn. It's stolen, Ty Palmer.
Yeah, Barrett's a small guy.
Ty Palmer to Riker Mickelson, down low, and layup again. And that's going to be a timeout from Riverton as Pleasant Grove cuts the lead to 3.
Yeah, Barrett's a small guy, only listed at 5'10", probably the smallest guy out here on the court. But that's a shot that you probably want him to take, even though it is a tough floater. That's the shot that's probably going to give you the most success, as the Silver Wolves only have 2 timeouts left in this one with a quarter and a half to go. As it's now, once again, time to talk about my favorite place to eat, Chubby's Neighborhood Cafe in Pleasant Grove. Chubby's Neighborhood Cafe in Pleasant Grove. All-American food
for all-American families. Enjoy Chubby's Cafe in downtown Pleasant Grove, right next to Ace Hardware, across from the Zions Bank.
And we've talked about this a little bit, but we cannot emphasize how much we actually love this food. I was talking to Kimball Ray, another member of our team, yesterday. First day back from school, we were like, this is our last semester of senior year. We deserve to treat ourselves a little bit. Where should we go to lunch? And I'm kind of saying, I'm like, $5 Cravings Box, Taco Bell. Maybe we could go to my house. And Kimball goes, Chubby's. And it took 0 seconds before I said, Chubby's. Absolutely one of my favorite places to go eat. We hope it's one of your favorite places to go eat. And if you've never tried it, go out and try it.
It is quite amazing food. I really enjoy their chicken tenders. Vaughn inbounds to Allred. Allred going to take it down the court. Drive in for the layup. He's going to kick it back out. Here's Barrett.
The way the Vikings played that fast break opportunity, Ethan
Stolen
Hilliard.
by Ethan. Ethan down the court. Layup, good.
Riker Mickelson was telling Ethan to dunk it. No such luck for Hilliard in the Vikings offense. As there's another forced turnover.
Here's Kai Peterson. Tries to draw the charge. And that's going to be Pleasant Grove ball. So Barris fails to even draw a blocking foul. Just falls over in the paint. But that layup is missed.
Pleasant Grove loves to force force turnovers. Obviously, every team does, but that's one of the things that Pleasant Grove focuses on. And another thing that Pleasant Grove is focused on that I was thinking about on that last possession is they haven't drawn a charge yet today. We'll talk about that in a second. Hilliard working at the top of the key, gets it out to Peterson. Peterson works on a double team. So he's going to kick it out to Hilliard.
Hilliard with the ball on the outside of the three-point line, kicks it to Andrew Anderson, back to Clay. Clay doesn't opt for the three, and he is fouled, and the paint falls over.
The Riverton squad wanted to travel on that one. I think Hansen was just kind of already off balance, hit a little bit of a brick wall, fell over, and luckily for Pleasant Grove, it's going to be a foul that's whistled, the third of the ball game on Zach Edwards, their leading rebounder.
So he's going to get his third here, and he's going to be subbed out for Barris, who was just barely in, so trying to get a break, but it's cut short. Hilliard going to inbound the ball here, out to Ty. Ty does not give it up. I thought he was going to give it to Clay. His layup is good.
Ty Palmer, tough finish down low, gives the Vikings their first lead in the half. Here's Barris. I think he was a little shocked at how little opposition he had. He was looking for a guy to pass it to, kind of realized there was no one up on him, so took it down in the paint, got fouled as he was looking for Christian Henninger.
Barrett inbounds it to Allred. Allred with the ball stolen by Makai Peterson. No layup, no good, but Ethan puts it back up.
Yeah, that's a tough shot by Makai Peterson. It may have looked easy, but he was coming off what was kind of a little bit of an aggressive Euro step.
Allred for three. Another make. And he cannot miss.
This place explodes as they tie it up.
Ty Palmer gives it to Ethan, down to Andrew for three. He answers.
What an amazing offensive possession for this Pleasant Grove team. Yeah, it was quick, but quick passes that were made with a purpose.
Got Andrew falling over, but what does a ankle breaker have to do when it's stolen by Makai Peterson for the layup?
As I mentioned, Barrett's made some Vikings look silly today, but it doesn't matter if you or your team can't capitalize on the possession. As Barrett gets that one poked out of bounds, and this stadium is electric. Riverton's bench is confident. The Vikings bench is on their feet, feeling like they have taken control of this one and are in the driver's seat. We've still got 9 minutes and 40 seconds of game time left to go. Don't go anywhere, as we've got a really, really good one here.
Here is Allred, the hot hand, gets it into Vaughn. Vaughn gonna drive in. Layup, no good. Return is gonna be fouled on it.
So the Vikings get whistled for that one. It's Milo Johansson who gets whistled for his second. Vikings third of the quarter. Done a good job. Neither team have reached or even really gotten close to the double bonus mark yet this game. Vikings have 2 more fouls to give with just under 90 seconds.
The second one is going to be good from Riverton. And here comes Hadley, going to bring the ball down for the Vikings. Hadley. Makai Peterson back to Hadley. 20 seconds on the shot. Out to Milo for three. No good. That's going to be almost. Milo gets the rebound. Milo again for three. There's so many things happening. I can't even begin to think about what they're doing here. Trying to talk about a foul. Riverton's coach getting close to a technical here by yelling at the referee.
And he's continuing to get in the ear of the ref. The ref is unfazed. And that's what you'll see most refs do, kind of just ignore the coach.
Harris, layup is good. Gonna bring the score to within one. Shot clock is off, 20 seconds to go.
You expect the Vikings to try and take the rest of the clock off this one, but if you have an open shot, you have an open shot. And as Ethan Hilliard's gonna check in, Makai Peterson's gonna go take a seat for the last 17 seconds. 18 seconds of this one. This quarter, that is. As Hadley in the offense back to work.
Now the clock isn't running on your screen, but 13 seconds to go. Here's Milo back to Ryan. Ryan with the ball, 5 seconds to do something. Here's Milo. Milo out to Hilliard for three. Oh, just off the back of the rim. And that's going to end the third quarter with a Viking lead of 1.
Yeah, the Vikings entered the quarter with a little bit of a deficit. They exit the quarter with a slim lead. I think Pleasant Grove, if they can have any team they play this season down entering the fourth quarter, if they play the brand of basketball they've played today, they feel confident about the way they can go, strictly because of the way they have ran the ball up and down the court and controlled the pace. Jack, what have you seen from this I don't know why I said Hillcrest, this Riverton team today that's kind of led you to, this team to a 1-point deficit here in this fourth quarter?
I just think that they played a couple of not very smart plays here, you know, focusing more on what they're doing, but like I think that like on their dribble moves and their finishing at the rim, but I think that Pleasant Grove is just playing phenomenal defense this quarter, has been able to steal passes, intercept passes, and something I'm going to mention is Riker Mickelson on offense this quarter. Yui said he couldn't get around Henninger, but look at what he did this quarter. He figured it out. He figured out how to get around him and get the layup. You know, move around, use his superior agility and speed so that he can score that layup.
And I think it's fun the way that you said that the Vikings played really good defense that quarter, because if you told the Vikings team last year that they were playing really good defense and they had allowed 52 points through 3 quarters, that they would kind of look at you and think you're a little stupid. But the Vikings team this year, it's not about how many points they allow, it's about the way that, or at least until the fourth quarter, it's not really about how many points they allow, it's about the way that they're controlling the tempo, forcing turnovers, and just forcing the other team to use a little bit extra gas, maybe get a little less miles per gallon than they usually get from their star. Yeah.
And that pass is going to be a miscalculation by Clay Hansen as he apologizes to Andrew.
Now the Silver Wolves back to work.
Barris, double team. Barris can't get out. They call foul.
Clay's saying he was going straight up and down. I think that's what Coach McAllister is going to argue. One thing this Pleasant Grove team has worked on in practice is not allowing the player to rip through. And that's what Barris was attempting there. The goal is if you, as the defenders, close the lane enough, if he tries to rip through, he's going to get called for that foul. That time it was Hansen, only his second of the ball game. So no worry numbers-wise for him. It's just, I guess, the philosophy of the foul.
There'd have to be many more fouls for Clay to be in foul trouble here necessarily. Here's Barrett with the ball. Barrett trying to reset here, gets away from Andrew. Andrew's gonna catch a foul. That's gonna be his first.
I think one thing I've noticed from this Pleasant Grove team, and this is something that Coach McAllister said as well, is you feel comfortable with any guy of their 10, even 11 guys that come off the bench, you feel comfortable with any of them guarding any guy on the other team. And I think that's something that I've noticed today as Barrett kind of has a good game working the ball and working the dribble as Ty Palmer rejects him. As Barrett has a good game with ball handles. Caden Allred has a great game from beyond the arc. Henninger's a big guy down low. Barris is obviously your star player and the guy that coming into the game you're focusing on defending. If any Viking that's on the court at any time, you feel confident that they can defend any of those guys.
Now it's Barrett for three. It's going to rim out. And that's going to be Zach Edwards, and he's going to miss the layup to catch the lead. So they're still down one. Kai Peterson open, gives it to Zane for three. He's going to bury it. My goodness, Zane is going off for three this game.
Zane Windsor was told before the season, when he was told that he was going to be the first guy off the bench, as that pass is sailed out of bounds by Evan Barrett. Zane was told at the beginning of the season, he said, you're one twisted ankle, one sick guy away from getting your chance. As long as you stay ready and you capitalize on that chance, you're going to be a big guy for us this season. And as I've been down in the locker room and been around the team this season, Zane's a guy who gets pulled aside by the coaching staff and says, hey, you're not putting up scores, you're not putting up points, assists, rebounds, you're not putting them up for varsity, and you're not putting them up in our stat sheet. But the way that we've seen you grow this season and the impact that you've had on the team even while not playing is huge. As Mackay gets blocked by Finger down low.
It's going to retain Viking possession, though.
Windsor having his opportunity to kind of put his stamp on this one. I don't expect him to start next game if Rasmussen's healthy. I don't think that's been communicated as an option to
kind
anyone.
Of a circus shot by Mackay Peterson as Barrett's going to go down the court.
But just to cap off what I was saying, I think Windsor's a guy that the coaching staff has told him, be ready because your time will come. And he's been ready today as a missed shot by the Silverwolves gives the Vikings a chance to push it to a even larger lead.
Here's Ty Palmer with the ball. Gonna drive in right side. He's fouled.
I think you're just happy that I got off my soapbox really quickly about St. Windsor and gave you a chance to actually call the play.
No, it's okay. It's just I believe that is a very valuable thing to talk about. It makes our relationship with the team feel a lot more close than I ever felt with football or basketball in the last 3 years, to be honest. Ever since my freshman year, the basketball team has kind of just been guys that are kind of untouchable, people that I don't know at all. But this year has been so much different for me on that personal level. It makes me love this team even more.
As the Vikings turn the ball over and the Silverwolves capitalize on the other end. Here's Mickelson, gets it over to Hadley.
Hadley with the ball on the out, kind of in the elbow here on the inside of the paint, gives it to Riker. Riker being defended well, cannot penetrate the paint. Kicks it out to Hadley, which I thought it was going to be out of bounds. It wasn't called as such. And Elred's going to get a layup that no one expected him to miss.
Yeah, Hadley saw, or I think he felt Coach McAllister hit his hand, not on purpose by any means, but usually the refs will call that out of bounds and kind of let you reset. But a good heads-up play by the Silverwolves to keep going until they heard a whistle, and it gave them a tie game.
And they're calling out of bounds on Ryan, so he stepped his foot out as he did that one-hand slingshot pass to Jackson Brown in the corner.
And Ty Palmer is going to come in for Ryan Hadley. That one-hand slingshot pass down in the hood, as Coach McAllister has called it, is one thing that this Pleasant Grove coaching staff will not let fly. And that's, I believe, the reason that Hadley came out of the game. As Johansson gets whistled for that one. Coach McAllister's not happy. I can't tell if it's with Milo or with the referee.
I agree with everything you said, except for that I don't think the corner three is considered the hood.
Well, it's the baseline.
I'd say the baseline inside the three-point line, especially, but I guess you can consider maybe that's a little bit of the suburbs outside of the hood, but not quite there. That's going to be an air ball from Barrett. As Allred's going to take a three after, and he's going to hit it.
I don't know.
He is 100% from three.
Does Caden Allred know how to miss?
Not sure, but he's hit the last two in the same way. Bounce off the side of the rim and off the backboard. Jackson Brown with the ball, gives it to Ty Palmer.
As the Vikings are looking for just a little bit of momentum to grab onto. Jackson Brown
for three off the front of the rim. Gets his own rebound. Pass to Riker. Milo for three. No good. Jackson Brown gets the rebound. Up for the layup. It's good.
A couple offensive rebounds and a bucket on your end will do that. Give you a little bit of momentum you're looking for. And now there's a turnover that'll do the same thing.
Ty for three. No good. Ethan almost gets a rebound. He's going to be fouled by Barris from behind.
That's a hard foul. I'm not saying it was intentional or dirty by any means, but that's going to hurt for Barris and Hilliard.
It's a hard fall to land straight on your back like that. Not fun for anybody.
And as you can tell, Barris visibly shaken up as he's going to limp off. Or he's jogging pretty well now, hopefully for the Silverwolves and for our entertainment's sake. Such a great player, Ben Barris. Hopefully he can come back into this one.
Kai Peterson to Andrew, to Hadley, to Clay, to Ty. Amazing ball movement by Pleasant Grove. the hill. Here's Clay Hansen with the ball. Drives in, left-hand layup, good.
That's one of the toughest finishes you'll see today as Hansen gives the Vikings back the lead, and Henninger is going to check in on the next dead ball.
That was Zach Edwards stripped. And they're going to call a quick timeout.
That timeout makes tons of sense from Coach Wilson. Keeping the ball in such a pivotal moment in this one. You're a team that's played close games so well all season. And it makes sense how with Wilson's brain behind the operation, that's something that has been succeeded and completed by this Silver Wolves team, looking to complete this game with 3:11 left to go. Jack, what have you seen so far in this fourth quarter that's led us to kind of a stalemate where we are now?
I just see incredible play from both sides of the court from Pleasant Grove, and I'm seeing that, like, you know, Riker Mickelson's making the right decisions, and so is Ty Palmer, and, you know, Jackson Brown with that pivotal offensive rebound. And that's another thing, offensive rebounds are doing way better this quarter. And I cannot express enough how important it is for offensive rebounds to happen, because second chance points have a much higher percent, plus third chance points are even higher. Teams are not going to miss 3 shots in a row, not very often at least.
And I think offensive rebounds has been something that Pleasant Grove has focused on a ton. And that's something that Coach McAllister has said. If he doesn't see you, unless you're the shooter, and you shoot a three-pointer, if you're not crashing the board so hard that you are going to get that rebound or die, you risk yourself getting taken out of the game. And Pleasant Grove's done a good job of having the ability to get those offensive rebounds, not just today, throughout the season, even with big guys like Henninger and Johnson on the other end of the floor.
Here's Barrett on the inbound. Gets it in to the unlisted player, back to Barrett. Barrett corners for 3, good.
This Silver Wolves team shot 8 for 19 from beyond the arc their last time out. In my notes, in parentheses, I wrote they actually shoot threes. Little did I know, they're also really good at them.
My goodness, Ty Palmer ties it up with a smooth layup.
As the Silver Wolves trying to get that spark to continue.
Barrett trying to, you know, pour some fuel on the fire. Out of bounds off Hilliard as he slides to get it.
I don't know what happened during that last time out, but I think the Riverton student section doubled in size, and you can hear them even on the opposite side of the court.
He pressed RT and X at the same time, took a dive, but was out of bounds as he did it. That's a 2K reference.
The Vikings are going to back off the inbounder, and it's Ben Barris controlling it.
Layup is good. Ethan trying to stay out of foul trouble. Gotta be a jump ball here.
And it's going to go Silver Wolves' way. This is a big possession in this one as the Silver Wolves try to kick it to a 2-possession lead. Ben Barris is hurting.
He's been hit.
And now he says, don't take me out. Don't take me out. And he's going to stay in. He is hurting, but Barris is going to try and fight through the pain.
Writhing in pain here.
As inbounding is Vaughn Johnson.
Here's Barrett. Barrett with the ball. Gets away from Ty Palmer. Drives in. They're going to call a foul on Ty. And he's going to go to the free throw line.
I think Ty just got a little too aggressive defensively there. That's a really tough shot from Barrett. I think your only goal is to go straight up, make it even tougher. Don't even think about bringing that arm down to try and block it. Ty gets whistled for it. Now it's just up to Barrett at the line to try and make an impact, which he does on the first one to push it to a 3-score game. The Vikings have no more fouls left to give.
Pushes it to a 3-point game.
Yeah, you're correct. Excuse me.
Could push it to a 2-possession here, and he does.
So Evan Barrett and Caden Allred have been kind of big
pivotal
contributors.
Players. It's foul for Kai Peterson.
Zach Edwards gets whistled for that one. just got a hand too far in. That's his fourth. One more, and Edwards fouls out the starter and the leading rebounder for the Silver Wolves.
Both teams not even near bonus, to be honest.
What do you mean? If Pleasant Grove fouls one more time, Riverton's going to go to the line.
I thought it was 6, sorry. It's my bad. There's Hilliard out for Mackay for 3. No good, but Hilliard gets the rebound.
Shot clock won't reset. It's at about 17 right now.
Here's Ty Palmer. Ty Palmer kicks it out. What are they going to call here? Timeout.
So 1:47 left to go, and Coach McAllister has used his first timeout of this one. The only time we've seen Coach McAllister go really deep into that timeout bag was last timeout against Murray as they were trying to fight back from a big deficit. That comeback win against Davis, and now here against Riverton, saving them for less than 2 minutes left to go in this one. We'll see what Coach McAllister and co come up with here. Palmer will inbound for Pleasant Grove as they're looking to cut the deficit to a one-score game and hopefully a one-point game.
Riker Mickelson gets it in. Here is Ethan Hilliard back to Mackay Peterson. To Ty. Ty Palmer almost loses the ball there. Puts up a wild shot. No good, but then they get the rebound back. And that's going to be Pleasant Grove ball after a tip from Allred.
And as we mentioned, right before the buzzer is kind of the only time you're allowed to shoot a mid-range jumper if you're a Viking.
Especially an unorthodox one, just like Ty Palmer just shot.
Luckily for him, he hit the rim, and Pleasant Grove did exactly what they try to do every time, and forced it off, got an offensive rebound, and now here's a whistle. I'm not sure for what.
It's the stack. So Allred was on Andrew Anderson too far, and they've had to readjust the stack. Ty Palmer's going to get it in. Gets it into Hilliard, who...
That's a tough finish with the guy right on him. But it gives the Vikings a 2-point deficit.
Yeah, one possession. It's almost stolen by Ty. Here's Vaughn. Vaughn Johnson with the ball. Outside of the three-point line, he's double-teamed. Throws it to Allred, who gets the ball. May
and that's
call
the final timeout. And I think Coach McAllister is trying to say that's a jump ball. You can't give Riverton a timeout there. We had as much of the ball as they did, but ultimately Riverton uses their final timeout to secure possession of that one. So with 67 seconds left to go, Coach Pond and Coach Groves leave the huddle as Coach McAllister and Coach Scoville argue, but it's not going to cost Riverton anything except for their last timeout. And with a minute 7 left to go, that's a huge last timeout. In the NBA, you have 8, correct?
Yes, you have 5 30 seconds and 3 3-minute timeouts. And through those timeouts, you know, a lot of them are used because of situations like that. You got to get out of it. You saw the Jazz use that in their game against Detroit the other day. Colin Sexton got the ball, got down on it, called timeout. I don't know if he did it or it was just Will Hardy, but either way, that helped them win that game.
And that's something that Riverton's aiming to do. It's a smart timeout there to retain possession, but if you're Coach Wilson, you kind of think back into the second quarter and you think maybe I shouldn't have used one then, but I expect this Riverton team to be smart with the cards that they've played, and they know what they still have left in their deck. It's no timeouts for them. Pleasant Grove still got 4, but we'll see if they can protect home court and their 2-point lead with just over a minute left to go.
Inbound here, Barrett for Riverton. He gets it in to Vaughn. Vaughn back to Barrett.
Barrett's been guarded by Palmer the majority of the game. Palmer or Anderson have kind of been the big guys on him.
Barrett, pass is caught by Barrett. Allred for 3, he's gonna miss.
So Allred only misses if he takes a wild 1-foot three-pointer to try and beat the shot clock.
Still caught. Rim, and it's stolen by Barris. Here comes Allred.
Oh my goodness, Ethan Hilliard. How do you call him for a foul there? That looks cleaner than Mr. Clean. Ethan Hilliard gets whistled for it.
He landed on him after the foul.
And the Riverton student section is reminding Hilliard that you can't do that. He's one away from fouling out. They just have to hope that Allred misses one from the line to keep it a one-possession game. That what looked like to me a totally clean block from Hilliard ends up getting whistled for. And again, just like Riverton has no timeouts, if you're Pleasant Grove, you kind of just have to, nothing you can do about it, kind of deal with it and try and come back from the opposition you faced, as Allred's first from the line is good.
It's good. Brings it to a three-point game.
Pleasant Grove kind of running out of time here. 40 seconds left to go. Just under 40, but they've got all 4 timeouts. 4 of the 5 timeouts.
Second, after not missing from 3, he's going to go 2 for 2 from the free throw line.
So it stays a 4-point game. The Vikings still taking it slow on offense. They know they've got time.
Out to the corner, Andrew for 3. No good. Ty Palmer catches it back out to Hilliard. Hilliard out to Makai Peterson.
Shot clock's turned off.
Ty Palmer, his layup is good.
And now Coach McAllister's going to call a timeout and kind of tell his team what he wants them to do defensively. Jack, do you foul here? It's going to give, no matter the type of foul, it's going to give Riverton 2 free throws and a chance to make it a 4-point game. Do you just try and foul their worst shooter, or do you try and play defense and force a turnover? You've only got 16 seconds left to go. Shot clock's turned off, so if Riverton plays it right, they could run the clock out here.
Well, you never know. Who is their worst shooter? I cannot tell. You know, based off of what's the stereotype, Christian Henninger is going to be the worst shooter. But to be honest,
looks like he's not going to go on the court here.
I don't think he is, and I don't think he would be the worst shooter anyway.
And for Riverton, of course, you're going to put out your 5 best free throw shooters because it makes the most sense for Pleasant Grove to foul here, but Coach McAllister has a very, very smart basketball mind. Maybe he has something else up his sleeve. Obviously, you're going to try and force a turnover on the inbound, but if you don't, I think you go right to foul.
So, with the 15.8 seconds, I think you try to get a steal. If you don't get it with 10 seconds left, you gotta foul and hope they miss it, but they're on their home turf. The only thing that will make them miss is a mental mistake or, you know, just the pressure gets to them.
I think this Vikings fan base, who's kind of taken over half of the side that we're on, I think they're going to be loud here. They were very upset about that foul called on Ethan Hilliard. Vikings are playing a full court press like they've done all game, but I think you're right. I think you try and force a turnover, and if you don't, that's out of bounds.
Out of bounds. They can't do that, okay? They're going to, you know, that was a questionable move to switch the inbounder like that. But
sometimes you'll have a ref that
they're going to call it a legal
happen.
move, so.
I don't think they can do that. Once he's out of bounds and the ref starts counting down, he's the inbound.
Yeah,
I don't think you can switch the inbounder
they didn't
there.
Switch it, but they did. They let it happen. I'm not sure.
I believe personally that that's an officiating mistake, as Allred makes his first. As Zane Windsor's going to check in, Vikings putting their, who they believe their 5 best three-point shooters are. And that's going to include Clay Hansen, who checks in for Makai Peterson. Who are you going to run Ty Palmer, I guess. I was going to say, who are you going to run the offense through if you're Pleasant Grove, but it's going to start with the ball in Ty Palmer's hands if you get to choose. Obviously, you'd rather not because you hope he misses, which he doesn't.
Second is good. So Palmer's going to run down the court. 12 seconds to go.
And now they're going to foul. The Silver Wolves had 1 foul to give, so that's not going to result in shots. So that just took off 4 seconds or so. So with 10.4 remaining, Vikings still looking for 4. I think Pleasant Grove, they do call a timeout here. The coaches looked like they were ready to draw up a play, so I thought they had called one. I'm very interested to see what the coaches have to think about that inbound switch there. I'm not an expert on the high school rule book, so that could be completely legal. It doesn't make sense in my head how that could be completely legal,
It
But
doesn't
if
make
it
sense
is,
at all.
it's
You know,
smart.
even in junior jazz, they're probably going to call that. But based off what I saw, they have the inbound ready. People are running around. One
And
of their
the ref-
players runs out of bounds, and they switch off who's inbounding.
I think the biggest part was, at least to my knowledge, the ref had started counting down. You have 5 seconds to inbound the ball. I think the ref had started counting down, and that's when I think that's your guy who's passing it in. You can't change that unless you want to call a timeout. Or, you know, or you get fouled as you're trying to run guys around to get them open. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not an expert, so that could be perfectly legal. But if it's not, that's a huge miss by the refs here. But with the mind that Wilson has on his side, I'd have to think that's perfectly legal. He's coached 225 Utah high school basketball games in his career, so could be something, could be a loophole that only he knows about. So Windsor's going to inbound for Pleasant Grove as they get it to Ty Palmer. 10 seconds left.
They only have 10 seconds to do something. Not sure what. Windsor, his pass is deflected.
The Vikings are going to run out of time, and they do.
They're going to run out
That's
of time.
it.
So Riverton win.
That's a mistake on the offensive end for Pleasant Grove as they kind of just don't get a shot up when it's kind of desperation time. But 70-66 is the final score. Vikings fall here at Riverton. I think there are a lot of positives and a lot of negatives to look at on both sides. Obviously, Riverton's going to learn their positives and negatives coming out of this game 12-1 instead of 11-2. Jack, what did you see on the Pleasant Grove side? We'll go through each side. Pleasant Grove offensively, what's one thing good and one thing that is a negative that you noticed?
Well, I think that their inbound passes weren't quite on, and they made a couple of critical mistakes. And I think maybe they just let the momentum get to them, that they couldn't do anything about it. But, you know, I think that this is just a loss that you got to bounce away from and be like, you know what happened? But we got to focus on region play. This is not something that we should focus on. And I think that that's important in that sense. Like, you can't let this loss define you, or the loss at Bingham, or the loss at the tournament against Murray. You got to think about keep playing our brand of basketball and, you know, go in on Friday, ready to win and ready to play. You know, kind of the main rival for the last 10 years, Lone Peak High School.
Yeah, and I think I want to focus on something that you said. I think this is a game. Pleasant Grove doesn't, honestly, I don't think Pleasant Grove cares if they won or lost this game. I think once they got to the end, they were focusing on this game, trying to learn who they're going to be and what they could do come region play. And I think that they learned some strengths and some weaknesses defensively when you're facing big guys. And obviously, you know, Chamberlain Burgess is, you mentioned, a scholarship to a team who's 20th in the nation and looking to just keep climbing the rankings in Utah State. I think that Pleasant Grove learned stuff that works for them defensively against these big guys, and Pleasant Grove learned stuff that doesn't work against this team defensively. And I think that Coach McAllister doesn't care in the end whether it's a win or a loss, because they're going to make the tournament regardless, and they have themselves to prove in region play.
Yeah, I've heard them call this the preseason, you know, games that are non-region and, you know, probably don't matter as much. I mean, it still matters whether you get wins and experience. However, 10 wins is nothing to sneeze at already, especially with 3 losses. Sorry, I just held it before. What's wrong with me? 3 losses to some tough teams that have kind of exploited what weaknesses we had. And look, this was a 4-point loss with basically kind of a final play that wasn't what they drew up. I doubt that was what they wanted. I think that was a bit of a mistake on the players' side. Should have just shot up any 3 that you could to get it as close as you can. But that's just my opinion. The other thing I just want to say is that, like, I think that after this game, they got to focus on keep back to their fundamentals that they practiced after Bingham. You know, they're good better passes, opting for the best shot, and, you know, playing full court defense as best they can. And, you know, tonight was a great display of Pleasant Grove basketball with a few critical mistakes that ended in the loss.
And one more thing about Pleasant Grove before we shift over to the Riverton side. I I think if you've been watching our streams throughout the season, heck, even if you just watched the Bingham game and just watched this game, I think the way that we've already seen this Pleasant Grove team grow is more than you see any team grow in a season. We've got so much more room to grow. Kind of focusing on something Nick Saban said once his Alabama team, and honestly, Nick Saban, Coach McAllister, I respect them the same for what they've done in their respective sports. But I think that something that Nick Saban said was this is a team that played so poorly at the beginning, and all he cared about was that they grew so much. And Pleasant Grove's already grown so much, and they've still got the 10 toughest games that they're going to play all year to go, plus whatever they can do in the tournament. If you're a Vikings fan, this is nothing to be discouraged about because you're going to have a great team come the postseason. And if you're a Silver Bulls fan, this is something to get excited about, as this is a tough Vikings team that they just beat. They face Corner Canyon, one of the highest ranked and highly respected teams in the state, coming up on Friday. They've got no easy region schedules. You mentioned the Bingham team they'll play. Mountain Ridge is a tough team in their region. Corner Canyon, a very, very good region over here as well, as 6A Utah high school basketball is just filled with talent. I don't think either of these teams have anything to be discouraged about besides maybe the W or L next to the score.
Yeah. I think that, you know, we're just going to move on from this loss and kind of look at what Riverton did good, which was, you know, staying fast the whole game, giving it to their main scorers. And you got to attribute, Caden Allred was going off from 3. He hit 5 for 6 from 3. And the final miss was the only miss. So he started off hot, and the only miss he had was an off-balance, horrible three-pointer that was forced because of the shot clock. That forced his hand. He did not have to take that shot if it wasn't by the shot clock. And I think that aspect of it, keeping him open, that was what left Riverton to, you know, win this game.
Well, that's all from Riverton High School. It's Vikings 66, Silver Wolves 70. That's all. Signing off for PGSN. We will see you back here. Well, not here, but we'll see you back on PGSN Friday as the Vikings start region play against the Lone Peak Knights. The game starts at 7:30 p.m. We will see you then. Thank you for tuning in tonight. For the last time today, I'm Alan Judson.
And I'm Jack Barnard.
And we will see you on Friday night.
Go.